Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my middle of the day market update right here on the crypto markets. Wanted to do a full update on today. Today we haven't seen that much movement. I mean, we did see some movement over the course of this morning. We had a bit of a pullback right here from Bitcoin into the 200 EMA, into the 1 hour uptrend, which actually held. Which I wouldn't have expected. I mean, this morning we talked about a pullback, right? So this price action wasn't necessarily a surprise. But I thought it was more likely that we would drop down into like 104,500 or maybe even 104,000 before bouncing up. So this is a good sign, but ultimately what you should know is that most of this price action was with relatively low volume, right? So does it really matter much what happened here on the 1 hour time frame? Maybe. On the 4 hour time frame, it looks like barely anything happened. So yeah, I mean, we're still going to get quite a lot of volatility over the next 24 hours once we actually get into the new week. But for now, this is a bit of a bullish confirmation. But ultimately, does it really matter that much? No. All right, so let's talk a little bit about next week. Let's talk about the markets today, and let's talk about what you should expect. First of all, two things that you should know about next week is that Wednesday we have major economic data with the CPI and inflation rate data, where obviously we are looking for lower than expected data outcomes because we want the inflation rate to go down so we can actually have some interest rate cuts in the US in 2025, all right, which would most likely be bullish for the markets as long as there's no recession coming with it. And then outside of that, what we heard yesterday is that the US and China are set for trade talks in London on Monday. So that's going to be interesting as well. What comes out of that? In general, these trade talks and just in general development on a trade deal between the US and China, in general, that has caused some sort of a positive effect on the markets. But obviously the markets right now are closed. So we will just have to monitor how pre-market S&P 500 futures open and how equities in general open. So that is something I'll still talk about tomorrow. And then obviously anything regarding Trump and Elon Musk will matter as well. But that's what I think you need to know, at least for next week. Now, when we're talking about Bitcoin specifically here, if I check my... So when we're talking about Bitcoin specifically here, I expect a continuation of bullish momentum. All right, I think the price action that we've seen after the bearish momentum on Thursday has been incredibly positive. And yes, we have a fair value gap all the way to the downside, and we can fill that. However, short term, unless we get some major bearish fundamental pressure, I don't think we will. And then outside of that, look, even though I'm bullish on the markets, we do have a CME gap here to the downside. I think in general, we can actually pull back into 103,600 as well. So it's definitely not that I expect up-only price action, but I do think if you take a look at where Bitcoin is in relation to the structure that we are in, and you combine that with the price action of the last couple of days, I would say it's most likely that, yes, we are going to pull back, of course, or at least that we can pull back, but ultimately that support will hold, and that from support we will see a continuation into this main resistance level at 107,700. That's what I generally expect for Bitcoin. Now, like I said, especially with the new week opening, there's going to be volatility, so be aware of that. Talking about some other majors here and talking about altcoins, XRP has already reached our price target. But this morning I said I don't think we're going to break above that. I still think so. Maybe we'll hit a little. Maybe we'll go a little bit higher here, up to 2.28. But I don't think we will break out ahead of the SEC roundtable tomorrow. Ethereum has been a little bit more quiet, is pulling back here, which was also to be expected. But ultimately, I do think we will hold support and still get up to the top of the range. Now, altcoins are still in a bit of a predicament because if you look at the daily time frame here, yes, we have bounced nicely from $230 billion, but ultimately I still think we need to reclaim $250 billion for the others chart, right? So that's the altcoin market cap, excluding the top 10 cryptos. We still need to reclaim that. So this is still very much kind of in the middle of being strong and bullish, and being weak and bearish. So this is something I'll definitely keep you updated on, but at this point of time, I cannot make any conclusions on that. And that is, I think, what you need to know. I mean, I wanted to talk about some altcoins specifically. Like I said, XRP, look, even though I do not think we're going to break out, it has outperformed over the majority of today. So that means it is still interesting to at least, keep an eye on it. And then outside of that, there were some other coins that I thought were looking interesting earlier today. GPS looked interesting, but that is quite manipulated, so be careful with that. But that is that's this. I cannot show you the chart right now, but this is the name of the coin. Quite high volume. It's manipulated, but it's worth the watch, at least if you trade it responsibly. Then outside of that, a coin that I liked quite a bit earlier today as well is Aptos. Aptos is here at the bottom of its range, and I have received some indications here and there that we can get some recovery here from the bottom of the range. So that's going to be interesting as well. But at this point of time, I wouldn't buy it. It's just a coin I think you need to keep your eyes on. And then if we are able to reclaim $5, which is a crucial level for Aptos, then I'd consider a buy. And a coin similar to Aptos, Injective, also interesting. It's ranging right now, but there are some indications, for example, the volume, but also open interest, that potentially we can break out of this range or this low time frame consolidation for more upsides later. But we'll talk about that. I'll keep you updated on that. But for now, I think that's what you need to know. So thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and bye.